What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City transfer update. I am rolling out daily Manchester City transfer updates throughout the whole January transfer window for you guys to look forward to and enjoy. So if you do want to stay up to date here on YouTube with all the latest Manchester City transfer news, then do make sure you have subscribed to my channel. It is free to subscribe, and we're now less than 600 subs away from my goal of 34,000 subscribers. Also, don't forget social media links. They're in the description if you want to go and check out my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Do leave a thumbs up, 300 likes is the aim, and do get your thoughts in the comments below. Should Kalvin Phillips leave Manchester City, whether that be on loan in January or whether it comes in the summer or whatever ends up happening with Kalvin Phillips, who would you like to see Manchester City replace Kalvin Phillips with? Do let me know in the comments below. So we're going to crack on with this video. We've only got one story to speak about, and it is very much predominantly all about Kalvin Phillips because that is the direction that we're heading in this window. So Fabrizio Romano, he has said that talks are advancing for Kalvin Phillips to join West Ham United on loan. It is right now looking like it is going to be West Ham where he is going to end up. Now, Fabrizio Romano says that new rounds of talks are going to happen between West Ham United and Manchester City this week. He says that West Ham are confident of a deal. Now, the talks are predominantly about the structure of this loan, which Jacob Steinberg has gone further into and says that the thing that's holding up this deal, so West Ham are happy to pay his wage. Kalvin Phillips is £135,000 a week wage, and also I presume that they are happy with the terms of the deal when it comes to a potential purchase option, which I presume is going to be an option to buy rather than an obligation to buy. We're going to struggle to get anyone to commit to over £40 million to give Manchester City in particular in this winter window. So I felt like it was always going to be an option to buy. It still remains to be seen as to whether there may be an option to buy. I was speaking in yesterday's video that Man City may want to remove it because we are setting a ceiling value on Kalvin Phillips should we put in an option to buy. So if we set that at £40 million and he ends up being a tremendous success at West Ham and there ends up being a lot of interest in Kalvin Phillips, then Man City won't be able to sell him for any more than £40 million because clubs know that that was what his option to buy was at West Ham. So I would say if Man City can't get the obligation to buy in, they may want to include an option to buy, they may not. They may be confident, they may not be confident on getting £40 million. That's the number that's being put out there. We'll have to wait and see. And we'll also wait and see if Manchester City do choose to sit down and speak to West Ham and say, as part of a little gentleman's agreement put in place between West Ham and Manchester City for Kalvin Phillips to go to West Ham on loan, that Man City may be interested in any of their players, in particular Lucas Paqueta, who has been linked with a move to Manchester City over the last 6 to 12 months. Then Man City may want to say, in exchange for us backing down a little bit on the loan fee or making it an option to buy rather than an obligation to buy, that we get first dibs on Lucas Paqueta. Of course, we can't really advance anything on Lucas Paqueta until his betting allegations have been dropped or they've been formalised and we know what the details are in terms of that and what the punishment is going to be, if there is to be any punishment, of course, there for Lucas Paqueta. That happened back in August and still none the wiser right now, and because of that, that's why Man City have been getting linked with other central midfielders, because a little bit like Harry Kane when he said no to Manchester City, once a transfer doesn't happen in particular in that moment, Manchester City, they do tend to wait 6 to 12 months, but we'll get to this summer. If we don't end up signing Lucas Paqueta, I will say that that ship has sailed and Lucas Paqueta will not be a Manchester City player at any point in the near future. So we'll have to wait and see. There's a lot of finer details. It's a lot more complicated, this deal, than what people make out when you read in between the lines, and that's why the loan's going to take so long to be completed. The talks and everything will be concluded, you would think, by the end of this week, but that takes us into next week, so I can't imagine anything being sorted over the weekend, and that takes you into the final week of the transfer window. So we'll see what happens, and that's why I was saying at the beginning of the video, if talks break down and he doesn't end up at West Ham, all of a sudden Man City either sell for cheap in this window to send him out on loan for a very small loan fee, or we don't end up getting his wage covered, or Man City simply say nobody's agreeing to our terms and Kalvin Phillips stays at Manchester City, because let's not forget that Man City's squad is already stretched pretty thin. To take away a first team squad player away from the club all of a sudden leaves us in a position where we're not able to replace Kalvin Phillips until the summer. And so I did, at the beginning of this window, I was always open and always speaking about, should we let Kalvin Phillips go? We do have the money, we do have the everything in order for us to go and find a replacement for Kalvin Phillips, but with no obligation to buy. It's a little bit of a risk. You end up doing a similar situation with what we had with João Cancelo, and Man City like the guaranteed income to come in, and I do think that when it comes to selling first team players, I think that's an area that Man City certainly could improve on. So Man City holding firm here, which is what's complicated and slowing down this Kalvin Phillips loan. I don't think Man City are going to replace Kalvin Phillips in this window. I don't think we're going to dip into the loan market and bring somebody else in just to simply replace one player with another. It's not really how Manchester City tend to do things. Man City will just continue to scout and have a look at their options ready for the summer, where I'm almost certain that Manchester City will go out and sign at least one, perhaps even two central midfielders, including if we don't see Kalvin Phillips again in the sky blue of Manchester City, then that means that Manchester City will need at least one central midfielder. And I know there's been lots of rumours going on out there about how Man City don't need to go out there and sign any more central midfielders. We've got Mateo Kovacic, we're moving Phil Foden into the middle, we could move Jack Grealish into the middle, we've got Mateus Nunes as well, Kevin De Bruyne has come back from injury. People are saying Man City, when it comes to their midfield positions, are stacked, and whilst it's great, it gives you extra cover for Ilkay Gundogan's absence in the Manchester City squad from the summer, it does leave a gaping hole for injuries like with John Stones that we've had so far this season, where we've had Nathan Ake, Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz all covering that position as well, and in my opinion all nowhere near as good as what John Stones is. And even worse is when Rodri ends up picking up either an injury or a suspension, or he's just not in the Manchester City squad. We don't look as good because we simply don't have the quality of depth that we're looking for, and it speaks volume that even when Rodri isn't there, Kalvin Phillips still isn't being given the chance to get into the Manchester City first team squad. So we'll see what direction we choose to go in. I do think that Man City, considering we were going to spend over £90 million to bring in Declan Rice in the summer, tells me that that defensive midfield role is very much a position that Man City will want to look at in the summer. It will involve Man City more than likely needing to spend big to find that ideal player, because you've got John Stones, you've got Rodri, they're two fantastic players, and then scratch beneath the surface and all of a sudden you see the depth isn't really there, and you'd want that third option that should Rodri not be available, you've got a player ready to come in. If John Stones is injured, you've got another player that can come in instead, and I think that's what City will look for when it comes to replacing Kalvin Phillips and having that player that can play in the absence of John Stones and or Rodri in the first team squad, and that will involve serious investment from Manchester City. So that's the direction I think that City are going to go in. There's numerous amounts of players that have been getting linked with Manchester City, and there's going to be lots more between now and the summer. So I will keep my eyes and ears open, of course, with that one, but it's very much looking like we're on borrowed time for Kalvin Phillips' stint at Manchester City Football Club. So there we go, that has been today's video. Don't forget, leave a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. 300 likes is the aim. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Kalvin Phillips leaves, who would you like to see Manchester City replace him with? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you are new around here. Daily Manchester City transfer updates coming throughout the whole rest of the January transfer window, and we'll be doing the same in the summer as well, so do subscribe. It is free to subscribe. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or any videos or any general business inquiries, and I'll see you all again tomorrow for the next daily Manchester City transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.